Hey YouTube, it's Acousticsteveo, the human patriot, coming to you from the universe. Join me on my journey, let's have some fun. It's been a while since I've posted anything substantial about philosophy or natural law or anything on the internets. I have two channels, one that's been very neglected called Human Patriot. I may post this on there, probably will. Then I also have my Acousticsteveo channel, which I've renamed to my actual name, Stephen Martin, and it's been that way for quite a while now. But because I spent so long as Acousticsteveo on that channel, and I quite often put Acousticsteveo in the little tags, if you Google Acousticsteveo, it should still get you to my channel. And that's all one word, Acousticsteveo. The name itself is somewhat awkward. The branding is kind of wonky, but it fulfilled its purpose of solidifying a, I guess, figurehead for me to point to. So that's what Acousticsteveo is. I'll just talk a little bit about how I came up with that. When I was younger, before Jackass came out, everybody was calling me Stevo. And then Jackass came out. And, now everyone associates whenever I put something out there about myself being called Stevo, because it's kind of weird to begin with to refer to yourself as a nickname, but I chose to do it. But I'm ignoring the whole Jackass thing. It has nothing to do with the Jackass thing. It's just when I was younger, I was called Stevo, and I'm still called Stevo by people that get very close to me. And the acoustic is a sound, a vibration, a musical vibration. It comes from several different types of instruments, and it's what I most align with musically. So therefore, I am Acousticsteveo. That does not mean I do not play electric instruments or anything of that nature or do anything with computers, because I do. It's just I'm most aligned with the acoustic vibration of sound. So therefore, I am Acousticsteveo for this little prop thing I've created for people to kind of find me in a quick way. And it's not highly successful, but it's successful enough. Then at the same time, I decided to dissolve it, at least on YouTube, as far as it being the actual name of my channel. But therefore, I still am inclined to use it in my introduction because I am still Acousticsteveo. I still created Acousticsteveo. One thing that Acousticsteveo did, I don't know how many of these videos I left public, there might be a few, was from time to time, I would record a video in my bathtub. And I want to talk about that real quick and why I do that. Yes, I am completely nude. There's this thing in society called mores, right? I learned about this in my sociology class, my first year of college in 1997. And these mores are like unwritten social rules that everyone follows because they're culturally the mainstream, and therefore they get their power from everyone's participation in them. Well, I think personally we should challenge mores all the time, because by challenging mores, we don't get entrenched in things that we're just operating on like a program. So we're not just basically running software of all the mores of our culture, because then you're not really truly being a human being. You're not using critical thought, etc., etc. So therefore, it's not very appropriate for a 40-something-year-old man, or when I first started this, 30-something-year-old man, to be making videos in his bathtub when he's naked that are for all to see on the internet, including children if they somehow come across the channel. That being said, I don't think there's anything wrong with this because I do not expose my nudity to the world. It's as simple as that. I really don't have to explain beyond that. So potentially a child could find my video and listen to it and find worth in my words, and it could inspire critical thought, and it didn't really harm anyone or anything. Could get them to think outside the box a little. All right. It's not like Hollywood doesn't show potential nudity to children all the time. So that's all this is potential nudity. If I flip this camera around, it would be nudity, but I'm not going to. So the first reason is mores. I am out to destroy cultural mores that make absolutely no sense at every opportunity I get, whether that be a conversation with somebody one-on-one or something I put on the internet. The second reason is I feel amazing in this bathtub. I feel fully relaxed. I feel like I've got my own little space where I can talk and be uninterrupted. It kind of reminds me of, I've been a student of the occult for years. And one thing they tell you is when you're going to do a ritual, you get yourself in a confined space where, not confined like a cell, but somewhere where you can't be interrupted. Somewhere where you can perform your ritual without interruption. And some rituals are even meant to be done in the nude. Maybe this is my version of a ritual. I don't know. I don't really perform rituals in that way where it's like a set, stringent, calculated procedure that's supposed to produce some end result. But then again, we all perform our little rituals if we stop to think about it. But I've been studying the occult. I have a lot of belief in the spiritual realm. I think it's just as viable and a part of our lives as the physical realm. I don't think one supersedes the other, but I think they're both there in tandem. Therefore, my second reason, I am fully relaxed and able to communicate. I'm by myself. If I went upstairs, somebody could come through the door into my house while I'm making a video. And it happens. You guys could see it on my other videos. I'm up there playing a song. Somebody comes in the room, and then, I just deal with it. Most of the time, I don't let it stop me from making my video. Sometimes I do, though. I'll just record a video over again when that happens. But there's always something. I got dogs upstairs, etc., etc. Down here, I can just, because I'm down in the basement. My wife and we have our master down in the basement, and we have a bathroom down here with our master. So I'm about as alone as I can get right now. So that's why my second reason for doing these bathtub videos. My third reason is that actually, I don't know if I even have a third reason. I think that pretty much sums it up. Maybe I did when I started making this video, but now I think my first and second reason pretty much encapsulate my third, so I'm just going to leave that one out. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the topic of this video, which is the social contract and natural law. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I've been watching quite a bit of a YouTuber's channel called Delete Lawz. And I'm putting his name in this video because, as he says, it will get me views. We'll see. I want to test that theory because I'm not able to get views, all right? Which is fine. I know why. It's because I've been shadow banned from the beginning and I'm stuck in their algorithmic pigeonhole, and I'm not coming out of it anytime soon, no matter what I do. And I'm fine with that because views are not what the world is about anyway. Not only that, but if somehow I eke out of that algorithmic pigeonhole at some point, my library online is going to be quite a substantial piece of work. And it will hold merit no matter when that happens. And if it doesn't, it just doesn't. I'll go on. It's not a big deal. At least I put forth my effort. And that's what I think people should do. They should put forth their effort to try to change this world into a better world. It's as simple as that. You have to care about changing this world into a better world. That being said, you have to do it the right way. There is a right way and a wrong way to do everything. There are multiple ways to achieve the right way in a lot of circumstances, and there are multiple ways to achieve the wrong way. But in the end, there is a right and a wrong to everything. So that being said, most people right there, that's going to make their head pop and go, there's not a right and wrong way. Everybody's different. They can, there's different ways to get to different things. If your way is right, well, to another person, it's wrong. There's some merit in that argument. What I'm talking about is morally right. There's only one right moral way to live and one wrong moral way to live. And part of the right moral way to live is having care and correct care. Care starts with you caring about others, people other than yourself and your lived experience. And it's not only for yourself that you're doing that, but if you think about it practically, if you do not give the amount of care to others, then anything that comes out of you, I'm talking about children and offspring, you're putting them into a worse situation. Because the situation is not going to get better for everyone if the people that are in it in the present do not do what they can do to make it better for everyone in the future. So therefore, you're really putting a part of yourself into a worse situation than if you actually had the care to make things better. Now, unless you're a complete nihilist where you just could care less about offspring, like for instance, I have no offspring. I plan to have no offspring, but that doesn't mean I don't care, because I still care about the people on this planet. I adopted a child. He may not be my offspring, but he's my child. I care about his potential offspring. So if I can do it, you can do it. All right. So develop some care and make sure it's moral care. You're not getting some dogmatic viewpoint that you follow along like some lemming and you don't use critical thought, because that's going to get you in trouble. So that being said, I'm not saying that Chile is following some dogmatic scripture of his viewpoint of natural law from John Locke and maybe a few others. But I think it is kind of borderline. And I'm not trying to get down on you, Chile, because I really know you have that care. And that's really the only thing I care about, is that you have that care and that you're not acting immorally. Now, what is immoral? Well, that is when you try to do something that's going to take away someone else's rights. It's as simple as that. If you do something that will take away someone else's rights, you are acting immorally. So it's pretty damn easy to act immorally in our society, isn't it? What I've got to say about that as far as Chile goes is he is stalwart on the fact that he believes that anarchy cannot work, right? And he'll say, show me a place where anarchy works and things like this. And I would say, Chile, that, you maybe that existed a long time ago when we were hunter-gatherers, but as soon as we created the very thing that enslaves us, it's hard to get out of that enslavement. And we haven't succeeded yet. But that doesn't mean it's impossible and that it wouldn't work. And to jump to that conclusion just because it hasn't been here and hasn't worked, when the actual recipe that's being cooked has never been the correct recipe, it's a logical fallacy that a lot of people make. And I believe you're making that logical fallacy, bud. And that's not a big deal because, like I said, I love you to death. You're trying to do the right thing. You're out there putting your life on the line, defending people every day. And I respect that highly. And we can agree to disagree on this one, no problem. And I know I haven't even spoke to you or really kind of touched the periphery of what you're doing and made my presence known. And that's because I'm busy with a lot of things. You're busy with a lot of things. And I've been observing and enjoying your channel quite a bit. And I've seen good things. A lot of people hate you. That's a good sign right there, as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, anarchy, and I'm sure you know this, Chile, only means no rulers. And I've heard you talk about it. and in a derogatory way about people that believe that they don't want rulers. And then you say, well, why rulers are actually needed in the rule of law, and because then there'd be a war of all men. I do not believe this. I believe that human beings are actually good, and that they've been programmed for evil to come in and put its roots down and grow and bear fruit. That's what I believe. But if those roots weren't allowed to be at all from the get-go, from the time a child's learning everything about life when they're very young to the time that they die, those roots are ripped out every single time, or for the most part, even societally, we'd have a good chance at anarchy. So really, the reason why we can't have anarchy, and I agree with you, we couldn't just flip a switch and anarchy would work right now. There's no way, because we're creating a different recipe. We're cooking up a different recipe entirely. It's like anarchy's chili and we're already cooking beef stew, all right? You can't just flip the switch on and say, okay, that's going to be chili now, and dump a little chili powder in it, and now it's chili, all right? No, it's not how you create chili. You have to start at the beginning and create it layer by layer to become excellent chili. Same is true with anarchy. And so you do have to start over, though. Until you realize that this system cannot be fixed, chili, you're going to be trying to make beef stew all day long instead of chili. And the chili is what you should be trying to make, because the chili is the place where people live, and they're not in this prison industrial death state, as you call it, which is very true. It's exactly what we're in. So the only way to do it, though, is, and this is an extreme hard thing to do, and it will need to be done by as many people as possible. There are a lot of people attempting it right now, Chile. I would love for you to take a closer look at it. Maybe you can join up with the people that are actually trying to create the right foundation, the recipe to at least start making chili. And that would be a consciousness shift in the population. You have to start there. Until people understand what natural law is, and what authoritarianism is, and what government is, you'll never be able to get them to go along with the correct way of creating chili. The second thing is, chili, that you can't get people to create chili if they're still trying to make beef stew. So basically, you got to get them a recipe for chili and say, okay, we got to start over. First part of that recipe, like I just said, is a mass consciousness shift. So what does that mean? That means no longer living like this can be fixed. Saying, no, it will not work. And I have this is my own thing, a little formula for what is the reality of the situation we're in. And it's government plus time equals totalitarianism. And the reason why I adhere to this, and I believe it to be true, we haven't had enough time in history to bear it out as, a law. Right now, it's still a theory. But if you look at America, we had a pretty damn good chance of living in a closer state of freedom than ever before. And we actually did achieve it. We still are a closer state of freedom than ever before. But it's going the opposite direction for several reasons. The more and more technology we get, the more and more we can be monitored, the more and more we can be watched, the more and more we can be confined to certain ways of life, the more and more power the state has over us, period. That's never going to go away. So if we empower a state to have power over us, even if that state is set up on foundations like our Bill of Rights, it's still going to go askew over time. That's why government plus time equals totalitarianism. We play this out to the end, what we're doing now, it's going to end up in totalitarianism. I can about guarantee it. It's already about 2/3 of the way there. Just look at this thing that you're railing against, this massive prison industrial complex. It's here now, this totalitarianism. And it's not because we're not doing it right. No. It's because it's impossible to do it right, because it's government. It's not, it's never been meant to be done right. Even all these great philosophers that you espoused their works as being your foundation for your thought, like John Locke, he's espousing that government is needed so that, people can resolve disputes, and that you're not the arbitrator of your own dispute, because then you'll be biased, such and such, right? And that is something that you do have to put some thought into, but that is not a reason for government, because government kills more people on this earth than anything else. So you can't just jump to, oh, we have a hard time with figuring out how personal disputes between people go, so now we got to create this leviathan called government, and that's the answer. No, it's not the answer. No matter what you write down on paper, people are going to find a way to fuck it up. They're going to find a way to exploit it through power. And there is power in this nation that has exploited it, and that's why we're in the situation that we're in, because there are things called loopholes. There are things called misinterpretation of law that becomes entrenched. There's such thing as entrenched law that's unjust, which is what you're trying to fight with the Terry laws. And I'm on the same page with you with that. We have to start somewhere. So what you're doing is needed, and it's pivotal, because this is the reality of the situation that we live in. So if we're going to fight against the injustices going on every day, unfortunately, we have to do it in a legal way. But alongside with that legal way has to be a shift in mass consciousness, where we are not afraid to say that the legal methods that we're using to fight, because it's our only tool, are not even the end-all solution to this thing. The end-all solution to this thing is no government. It really is, Chile. And I know that you've read a lot of philosophy, but I'd invite you to read a little bit more about anarchy, because it simply means no rulers. And I know I could live morally without a ruler. I know probably 90% of people out there could live pretty morally without a ruler. The whole thing wouldn't just fall apart. Especially at this point, we've had enough civilized society where people don't just go around killing each other, for there to be an entrenched human history of it. That we're not just going to fall into the darkness. Yeah, there's places down in South America that don't really have rule of law, but they have a different culture down there, a different recipe that they're building on than what we've been building on, all right? And I'm not being racist in saying that. I'm just saying that's a fact. So what's down there ain't working for other reasons besides that the government doesn't have more control, because down there in South America and Mexico, the government does have control, and it ain't working there either, all right? Government is not the answer. It really is not. First off, it's theft. You got to steal from people to create it. And I know I've heard you talk, espouse the good thing that taxes are, but they're not. Straight up not a good thing. People can voluntarily create things that need to be created. You don't need taxes to do it. And I know there's an argument that said, yeah, they can, but they won't. So then you have to force them. No, that's not the solution. The solution isn't, hey, we want this to be this way, so we got to force it to be this way. That's never going to be the solution of anything. You're going to have a practical, real reason to give people to want to create things that shows those people that it's going to benefit them. If they do, then they will voluntarily do it. But we're nowhere near that. Like I said, we're making beef stew, not chili. So in order to create true anarchy, you have to start with a mass consciousness shift to where everyone agrees that what we got cooking is not chili. We need to start making chili. And start dismantling the beef stew and putting it in its containers and put it in the refrigerator for people to eat, and start figuring out how we're going to start making chili. So the dismantling of the beef stew, that's what you're doing, Chile. You're trying to overturn the Terry laws. You're out there working hard, and that is something that's needed, because if you don't have a space to cook the chili on the stovetop because beef stew is being cooked there, then you're not going to have a space to cook chili. So right now you're giving us a space to actually try to cook chili. But in doing so, you should maybe start looking at the cooking of the chili as the end result, not the best beef stew ever. So I think I've given a little bit of analogies to kind of put this video to rest, because I just really wanted to talk about what you've been talking about, Chile, about the social contract. And I believe you can make a social contract is not a bad thing, but it should be based only on natural law. And those laws are the universe's laws. We don't have to create them or come up with them. We just have to teach our children from a young age what they are and stop feeding their brains full of all this other crap that's creating the beef stew. That is how you start to make chili. You gotta start somewhere, and what you actually feed your children is critical thought. It's calling out all the things that are wrong. You start there, you can start taking the beef stew off the stove and putting it into the refrigerator, and you can start cooking chili. If you don't start doing that, you're just going to be perpetually cooking beef stew for eternity. And it's never going to not be beef stew, and it's never going to be chili. So, Chili, I love you, man. I'm enjoying your channel quite a bit. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. This is just one little minor difference that we have, and I would love to debate you at some point. I know I don't have a big channel, but as you can see, I'm somewhat articulate. I have not fully read the books that you have espoused as being the proper reading for a debate such as this, but I plan on it. And you gave me a good idea. I can do it on my way to work. I could put it on the LibreBox thing and just listen to it. Back and forth to work. That should take me a few weeks. But after those few weeks, I'm going to put my time into listening to these things and actually hearing it out. I'm going to ask you to do the same. I know you don't have time, though, so I'm not going to hold you to it. But there are some things I would like you to read. One of them being maybe you've already read it too, so you won't have to. But you know what? I'm not the best with remembering things like I think it's called the Hyperion, something close to that. And what it does is it lays out what natural law is from a spiritual perspective, which is important because the spiritual is just as real as the physical. So it's important to have that foundation in understanding natural law. So it's Hyperion, something like that. If you could find it and you have time and care, the big C that matters about everything, then go ahead and read that. There's also, God, I wish I was better with names. There's a lawyer from just after the Civil War time that is a famous anarchist who wrote about anarchy and a lot of what you're talking about us, agreeing to be part of this social contract created when the Constitution was created. And he gives a very well thought out perspective I think would do you well to listen to. And it's not a long read. I wish I remembered his name, but if you want to find him, just Google maybe 18th century lawyer anarchist. That should get you to who I'm talking about. I apologize again. I'm in the bathtub and I didn't really even know this was going to be the video I was going to make. So that's kind of how I am. I'm very spur of the moment, quick to deliver, just get it done. If it's not perfect, oh well, move on. Anyways, Chili, I might even try to meet you in person. Like, if I know you quite often go and do things like when you went to the auto theft situation that was going on with the state and them stealing people's property. And you are in Ohio. You're down there south below me. I'm in Ohio. I'm in Dayton, Ohio. So it wouldn't be too hard for me to, if it's on a weekend, make a little journey to something that you got going on and actually shake your hand, because I want to shake your hand. That being said, I'm going to be preparing for this. Even if you don't accept the debate, there's no hard feelings. I understand I'm a small channel. I don't think that's a good reason not to debate me, but if that's so the reason that you choose not to, I'd understand it, because I don't really care about any little thing that you could do against me. As long as you're out there doing what you're doing, you're good in my book. So, all right, Chile. Yeah, plus I'm not the neatest looking dude. I don't shave like you. So, yeah, I'm kind of a scrub. All right, have a good one.